everyone. Thanks for coming, even before the holidays or whatever. This will be very much about testing and mostly about testing web apps and what we managed to do and what I would love to somehow share between other projects and build some common infrastructure. How many of you have actually used anything like Selenium for testing? And I guess the guys in Zlín know it a little bit also. How many of you have it used in like a slightly more complicated setup where you didn't have the Selenium API on your computer but somewhere else? No one. Okay, so it could be slightly interesting for you. So I'll quickly discuss why testing is good, even though I believe that most of you know better than me. Actually, many of the things I'm gonna talk about, many of you might know better, so just don't be ashamed to correct me or stand up and tell me something is wrong. So why testing? What does it test? Will it work for me? How does it actually work? That's the toughest part. And what we managed to achieve. We'll have Oliver joining us hopefully to show us a live thing because he's better. And then the dreams. So I found a nice picture of Seneca where he was ordered to kill himself because he did a mistake. But actually, this is a quote of Seneca, which says that it's human to do mistakes, and that there is two nice alternatives. One is that it's diabolical to keep doing the mistake again, and the other one is that God will forgive you, but probably not the user, and the client will forgive you even less. So it's good to do some testing because usually people manage to do some errors, and this will help you catch the errors. So that's in very broad why it's good to test. I guess you could say many nice definitions and so on, but basically, especially in the era where it's so easy to deploy a new version of a web application, it's also very easy to deploy a broken version of a new application, and then it's useful to test it. And it's so easy to work in a team to combine code from several people. It's very useful to make sure that the combination actually works too, and so on. There's several ways of doing testing, several levels of an application you could test. This is mostly about what we would call integration or end-to-end testing, where you do the actual clicking in the browser the way a user would. And from my point of view, it's quite useful. We will talk about it. In the Technical Museum on Letna, there's a really impressive thing. I didn't find a picture of it. It's somewhere behind the locomotive. There's a wheel of a locomotive after a test. It was tested for durability, and it's all bended, like a wheel like this, all in steel and bended, because it didn't go through the test. So this one thing you won't test with Selenium, but then the other stuff you will. And basically, it's a question of whether you find a proper driver and whether you find a proper library that will talk to the Selenium API. The documentation, the website about Selenium is a little bit hard to navigate and to grasp the whole thing and to understand the potential of the thing. But once you get into it, you will probably find the answers there. If anyone is interested, I would be more than happy to help you. So, yeah, this is somehow we lost the video where we were running the tests on a phone connected to a computer. So you have to believe me that somewhere this is a mobile phone running a test from our virtual server with Selenium, and this is us being happy about it. Like, otherwise, you wouldn't be happy at work, right? So this is a proof that it worked once. The nice thing is that there are several projects that will help you run your tests on mobiles, and not even on mobile browsers, but also on native apps. So when I said before that it works for anything with native apps, it's not actually true. I mean, on browsers, there's also these projects that will help you run it on the phones. I guess the names are telling. You will probably know which one to use for which platform. There's not much for Windows phones, but there is not many Windows phones nowadays.
He likes to do this.
Selenium explained, like the whole architecture. I actually, that's why I used this thing for the presentation, because I was hoping there would be a nice picture here. And I didn't make it, so I'll try to draw it on the paper. When you said you used Selenium, you probably used just one part of it, like the API that is, I don't know, probably recording the tests, or how did you use it? Did you record the tests, or did you write them yourself, and in which language, in which platform? Anyone? Like .NET? Yeah. So what we have here, what we are using is on the website. It says that Selenium changed very much since WebDriver came. So Selenium 2 would be Selenium 1 plus WebDriver, and WebDriver is allowing to control the API from other libraries, from basically whatever language you are using, and it's also making the architecture slightly more complicated. So what you can have is the actual Selenium thing here, and so let's say, yeah, it will be something like this, and then you can have many browsers, even on different computers and devices, where Selenium is telling them where and how to click. And you can have the WebDriver thing, and then you can have, and there's a library that will talk to the WebDriver thing, and then there's your language, like what we would use on recipes plus what's the name of it? Protector,
Yeah.
or what we now use, or we now use behead. But basically, whatever you put here, it will always talk over some library to WebDriver, and WebDriver will talk to Selenium, and Selenium will control the browsers. So the nice thing is that there can be many browsers on different machines, and this via this chain you can control it. Is this clear? So like the slightly more advanced setup with Selenium would be that you have one computer which is running the tests, like telling the test server what to do, the test server itself, and then the browsers wherever. Like there is an API where the browser can connect to the Selenium server, and then the server will control the browser. What we actually did is running the browser inside the Selenium box for now. Is this clear? This is the one most complicated slide of this talk, so we can spend more time on it here. Yeah.
What do you mean by having the browser inside Selenium?
Inside the same machine, like just the same virtual machine. there's different modes in which you can run this. Like with Protector, you've probably noticed that like there's so many options when you run it, and one of them is to run the WebDriver like directly, controlling the browser immediately without the need of running Selenium server locally. So that's like the fastest option locally. And Selenium itself can be run in a mode where it talks only to the computer where it's running, or in the server mode where it's controlling the browser or browsers around. It's like a switch when you start it. And yeah, the back to the browser, back to the slide, like where you can use it. I can't draw the logos of the browsers here, but there's even a driver for IE and for Chrome and for Firefox, for the headless browser, Phantom.js, and even for Opera. So you can, it's for some reason they call this one a driver and these are drivers as well. So it's slightly complicated, but still you can run from any platform, like from any language, and run on any browser or device you want to use. Some of them might be slightly harder to set up, but it will work at the end. There's a repository on the CN GitHub. At the moment, it's private. I hope to publish it soon. Unfortunately, there were some mishappenings, so I didn't make it to the presentation, but we'll show it later. And basically, once you download it, it will set up the virtual server for you, or you can use it to set up the server anywhere you wish and run stuff. The thing we did, as I said, is it will install also a very simple Windows management thing in Ubuntu and install the browser for you. The motivation for this, it's probably important. There were a few motivations, like this is slightly sensitive with the testers, so I hope there won't be a riot in Slim, but basically, usually it will be like, so Petsa, what are you doing now? I'm waiting for the tests to finish, and somehow this was driving me crazy. Like the vision of Petsa sitting in front of the computer and waiting for the tests to be finished, because as you may probably notice, like when you run the tests locally on your very machine, it will steal the focus, and basically the best thing you can do is like not to touch the computer at all, because otherwise you will ruin the tests and so on. So that's one thing, like losing people's time. Second thing is that usually you will have the tester who's running the server, the tests, and no one else is able to reproduce it exactly the same way, because the setup is slightly complicated and so on and so on. So that was like another very important motivation from my point of view to be able to run the servers wherever, like either or on a shared server or on your machine in a virtual appliance. Because when it runs in the virtual appliance, it doesn't steal the focus. That's the main thing. So you can keep working, you can like write new tests or do whatever you want. And the test is running in the browser, but on a different machine in the virtual. Hopefully, Oliver will show us at the end. And the third reason, which is probably the most important, or one of the very important ones, is that once done properly, I have to admit we never reach the state, because there's always so many things on the projects. But one of the targets is to have it more under control, especially the results of the tests, because quite often when you run the test, especially when the project is running fast, there's always like at least one test that failed, and it doesn't always mean that there's a problem, because it could be a problem in the test, it could be a problem in data, it could be whatever, and it doesn't always mean that you have to like stop the deploy, because probably it's a bug you know about, or it's something So it was always when we were like, every time we would be deploying, it was always, so how about the tests? And yeah, I have 3 errors, and are the errors important? Are they not? And so on. The dream is that we would have besides the server that would be running the test, we would have another server that would be storing the results, so we could easily compare. You could mark a test like to be ignored or something like that. So you would know immediately that this is the same old error we had on 20 past tests. And the fourth reason is that once we will have this server somewhere, like out of the developers' machines, or testers' machines, we could run the tests automatically upon a pull request is created or code is pushed or whatever happened, which should trigger this this automatic testing. So that's like the reasoning why I think it would be great to have such infrastructure. Why I think it would. Well, merging doesn't exist. Why I would think that this would help us, like basically any project. Yeah, it was. I was really glad that there's people, at least in Zlín, who seem to be interested in doing something like that. One of the dreams of the shared server, I didn't find a nice picture for this one, is that we would have like in the hall somewhere, like instead of the jokes wall or somewhere like this, we would have several screens where you could like pass by and see any of the projects being tested, like yeah, because you need, like, you don't need screens, but you need browsers running somewhere, and it would be fun to show them off, and anyone would be able to see what's going on. I guess I talked about the reasons for the shared server quite a lot. There's not much to talk about. There is alternatives. Not only are they slow, they are paid, and we tried Source Labs. It's cool, but you have a test account for 2 weeks. Yeah, Mila doesn't agree as you should agree.
I have a meeting for 2 and we have to prepare also.
We had a test account for 2 weeks, and then we were switching test accounts, and so that we wouldn't have to pay. But still, when you want to run it often, you would end up paying quite a lot of money first. Second, it will freeze and it will have problems. And third, the selection of browsers and of real appliances is somehow limited on both of the services. So like having the control over it is, I think, worth it. And especially if we like use it for several projects, I think it will, like the effort put into it will pay off quite quickly.
But actually, if I'm right, ProcessTech is doing it virtually. It's not a physical device. And the Source Lab is the same situation?
I think so.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the physical devices are an important reason. How? We have 8 minutes.
Jiří Šindler says on Indeed that they are using ProcessTech pretty successfully on their project.
Okay, good for them. How much do they pay?
How much do you pay?
Yeah.
I assume you're paying it from your own money.
So the next steps, I would, I don't know if you know, we are working on this thing where we are doing a shop for some client, and we are gonna deploy it hopefully in a month or so, and having tests will be quite critical after we deploy, and then we will be deploying new versions and improvements and so on. So I hope that once we are left with that project, we will also have the server running, and we'll be able to share it later on. Except for the server, I want to improve the local provisioning, because it works quite well when you're on Linux, but and on a Mac too. But those other people, they have problems. So I want to improve this. So basically, it will be enough to have background running, and it should work like background and virtual, whatever. And then the big thing is the reporting server. We did some work on it while we were working with Recipes Plus, but it will still need some time. Most of the libraries that do some testing support a common format. It's an XML file where you can store results of the test. So it's just a question of uploading that XML file somewhere and parsing it and showing it in a nice way. Most of these libraries also support saving screenshots, which is quite useful because you see immediately what happens when there's a problem. So this would be a dream come true if we manage to set up the results server as well. But yeah, that's like the next step. And that's it. Thanks. I made it in time. I'm really proud. Yeah. So like the primary goal is that everyone will jump out and say, yes, I want to join and I want to use this on my project. And so you're free to do it now. And the second thing is like, if you have any questions and so on, you're welcome to ask. And actually, sorry, Oliver,
yeah.
Come on. Can you share? Or
I will share the link.
Click to exit the presentation.
If Oliver is watching, he will receive a message on.
So I will share
on
something.
Slack.
Is Oliver an invisible person?
Oliver is in Zlín. It's the best tester around.
Yes, he's
and,
imaginary friend. Yeah, he doesn't exist.
Yeah, because somehow I had some other stuff to do, and so he's got it running on his machine, so it was faster to for him to show us.
In progress.
We were like, since this is going on YouTube, we can't show you the actual projects where there is like half an hour of tests. So he did a very quick test, which is like, you will see. But the nice thing about it is the is that Oliver? So
Oliver, are you going to speak, or are you going to be only sharing?
Share your screen, please.
He's looking like he's going to share. There might be a slight delay, maybe.
Okay, here we are.
Okay, somebody is.
So the great thing in behind is a virtual machine running on his machine, running a browser, and we are running the tests. Can you do it again, Oliver, please? The test was running from a different virtual machine on his computer. So that was a Behat running the tests. That's a PHP library, and this one is Chrome installed on a virtual machine, on a second virtual machine. That's it. It's great. Like,
yeah, in case you need some interaction with Oliver, there is a huge delay of the YouTube.
No, I guess it's okay. Yeah. As I said, we have several, like at least half an hour of tests, but we can't show them. So this is it's okay. Oliver, enough. Thanks. One thing which is interesting, like which would be great to work on, but it's slightly complicated due to the different technologies and so on. I think recently Tomáš Metz shared a nice article about Gherkin and about the philosophy, how it was meant to be and how it is misused for authoring tests, that actually it shouldn't be the developer or the tester, but like somehow, or it can be them, but it should be closer to the like analyst or project owner who are writing the actual description of what the software or website is supposed to be doing. That's the last level. What we have here is we have something similar to Gherkin. I don't know if you know, like a language to describe the tests. And at the moment, we are doing it in a nice way that Oliver is authoring the tests, but it's like a design flaw, I would say. It wasn't meant that way. It was meant so that the project owner or the analyst would write down before any developing is happening, and this would allow everyone to understand what the project is about also, and also it would run the tests, which is quite cool. You can describe the test in basically in human language, and then there is some code behind that will interpret it. So.
And currently on your projects, you are testing it on which devices? On iOS devices only, or also on Android devices, or only on Android devices? Or
whatever. Like automatically, we are still just in browsers.
Okay.
Like, for us, it's enough, I guess. But we are like it's supposed to work on anything.
So just one test works, one code works on website on website as well as on the normal device, like such as iOS as well as Android. So you don't have to do some customization between the devices.
For the tests.
For the tests itself.
Yeah, we did a lot of this for Recipes Plus. That one we can talk about.
Yeah.
We had a common like the most of the code was shared between the devices, and then there was a library which was like helping find pieces on the website, because like sometimes something would be hidden or something would have a different name on a mobile phone or something. But it worked pretty well, and we would like you can run even Chrome. Normal Chrome, you can run it like in a mobile mode for the test, and so we were using that, but also with a real device, and the test worked fine. It was cool. Yeah.
Is there a plan for your projects or some of the projects to use it more like heavily, to have this like, let's say, maybe before, during some QA phase at least, or overnight?
As I said, like this is a shop that like makes actual money from people using it, and so it will be quite crucial to make sure that you can get through the buying process. So having the server will be quite important. So my plan is that every pull request will trigger a full suite of tests and report.
It's just my experiences, for example, like Jan Fleischer, maybe, who is also listening, is that like we are using something similar, but it's not it's something like an already working solution which is heavily paid, and we are using it on Interflex. It's called C-Test. And like the pros are that you can write the test in many kind of languages. You can write it in JavaScript, in C#, in everything, which is maybe similar. But the problem is it's super expensive thing, and to somehow really you need to buy a lot of how to say services. Like you have like some initial cost on the beginning, and then you have to buy some C-Test cloud or something like that to actually have something which makes sense, and it's a really super paid solution.
Yeah.
Good thing after some first results, or let's say half a year using it, we already know that really the same tests are working on different devices, only with small customizations, and it's pretty stable, but super expensive thing.
Yeah, what we hope for is that this will be basically for free. Like it's some pain to set it up in order to be able to share between projects, but I think it's worth it. Yeah.
Just Jaroslav Klemek also from Zine said that right nowadays you can use Process Stack also for real devices as well.
Yeah.
Apparently.
If you pay enough.
It just also like my experience is that if you are using the normal Process Stack without physical devices, it can give you some impression and can give you a lot of feedback, but never it's the same like with the physical devices. There can be some errors which are not caught in the Process Stack.
Yeah. And actually, I forgot about an important slide, so I'll just say it loud. That I wanted to thank all the teams that worked with me on these projects, and so that we managed to do this. It was quite a lot of fun. So
kudos recipes plus kudos FTH.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Mojžíš. Thank you, Zine. Bye.